Hey everybody, welcome to one of my first videos about Adobe Animate. And essentially what we're going to talk about is the workspace. So if you can see down here in my taskbar is my Adobe Animate application. You may be on a Mac, you may be on a PC, or you may be remote desktoping into one of the DACC labs, but either way you got to navigate to the application, open it, and we're just going to explore the interface a little bit. Show you basically how to create a new document and kind of learn a little bit about how the software works. The software will open and give it a sec. This should be similar to the first screen that you will see. It'll look a little bit different depending on your operating system, but it should look essentially the same. Down below, you'll have projects that you may have opened up earlier. Over here on the left, a Create New. We'll open a new document. Or you can just choose, I would recommend anyway, from starting a new file fast. Okay, so Full HD. And you click it, and it opens up a Full HD project. And so this is roughly what your window should look like. Over here, this is kind of one of the first things that I would recommend that you do is go to your workspace, because your workspace won't look like mine. I think the default workspace is the Essentials. I think that's what yours will look like when you first open up the software. I can't remember. However, I always tell students is very first thing that you should do when you open up a software, whether it be Photoshop or Illustrator or Animate, is to set up your workspace so that it's comfortable for you. Now, a lot of professional creatives, developers, game designers, animators, they often have multiple screens that they work from, at least two. It's typical. However, I'm just working off of one screen at home, and most of you are probably the same as me. So one of the easiest interfaces to mess with, workspaces to work with, I should say, is the Classic. I like the Classic one because it puts my toolbar on the left-hand side, it puts my timeline up at the top, and it puts my panels on the right-hand side. I think for one small screen, this is probably a great workspace to work with. So again, right up here, top right-hand corner, Workspaces, Classic, and you can also create your own workspaces. We'll talk about that a little bit later, where you can actually manipulate your windows, move pieces over, move panels, open and close certain panels, and then save it as a customized workspace. We don't need to do that at this point. I like the Classic. Anyway, so I'm going to double click the hand, and that makes my screen, my stage, fit within this window. Double click the hand. Okay. I don't typically do, that's the only thing I typically do with the hand tool, because ultimately you can use your keyboard commands to toggle your hand tool on and off. So as you can see, my hand and my cursor, if I hold down my space bar, I can get my hand anytime I want. Okay, and that basically allows you to move your stage around. All right, so let's look at the interface first. That's what we're going to touch upon today, because you look at this and you may be overwhelmed with all the stuff in here. But we're going to go through things pretty slowly, and I'll explain pretty much what everything does. I'll skip things that even I don't use very often, because there's often a lot of tools that we don't have time to delve down into. So, and also they may not be worth some of the time that you have to put in to learn to use them. So, and this is just an introductory course. So let's get going. All right, so this is the interface to Adobe Animate. Down the left-hand side is our toolbar. If you've done Photoshop or Illustrator, Adobe Premiere or After Effects, it looks familiar. And a lot of the tools you'll be like, just by looking at them, you'll have a good idea what they do. We're going to, in other videos later, I'm going to specifically go through all the drawing tools, not today. Okay, so these are our drawing tools. We use these tools here to create the content and transform the content that we want to animate. Over here is our timeline. So if you've done timeline-based media like video editing or any other animation, this will be fairly familiar to you. Little boxes, those are frames. Okay. So our frame rate is already set to 30 frames per second. Typically over here I'll change that to 24. That is the standard film frame rate. Okay, and so 24 frames make up 1 second of time. More on that later. Okay. Layers, you can add lots and lots and lots of layers, just like in Photoshop and Illustrator and other creative programs, Adobe stuff. You can lock layers, you can turn them on and off. You can turn the color outlines on and off. Again, a little bit more later. You can delete layers with the trash can. You can add folders. This is pretty cool. I don't use it very much. I find that when I show you how to structure some of your graphics, you won't need folders, okay? And then, of course, adding a new layer. And there's a lot of buttons and features up here. We'll talk about those when we start to get into animation. Right now, we're just going to worry about content creation. Okay. This white space here, let me zoom out just a touch, Command minus, okay? That zooms in and zooms out. I'm going to use keyboard keys a lot, so I'll try to reinforce those. So Command plus, Command minus allows you to zoom in and out, Command plus, Command minus, or if you're on a PC, Control plus, Control minus. And it allows you to zoom in and zoom out on your stage. This white space is your stage. Okay, I want you to think about it as the camera. So when you point a camera, this is what you would see. All right, the space around is called the workspace. And they call this the stage, this white area, for a reason, because it's kind of like a theater stage. Basically, characters can walk in, characters can walk out, but the camera essentially, or the stage, doesn't move. The actors move. The scenery moves. Okay, so keep that in mind as we start to develop our ideas on how to animate with this tool. Over here are panels. They're all hidden in there. We'll look at those in just a second. But this one is the most important one. This is called the property panel. And this panel is dynamic, which means that it changes depending on what you have selected. Now, because our document doesn't have anything inside of it right now except for the stage, that is what you'll see in the properties. Okay, whoops, sorry, I gotta call somebody soon. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about that. I think that's a long enough video to get started, and look for the next video where we'll start to delve down into the properties and the panels and the individual drawing tools. There you go. Thank you.